Hey, this is Dennis. It's Tuesday. I want to get back in the Bible study. We're in the book of Romans, chapter 11, and we're going to start with verse 11. And I want to let you know this part to me, some deep stuff, and I don't understand it all, don't know it all, but I'm going to do the best I can. Verse 11. And I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. I think he's talking about the Jews here. But rather, through their fall, salvation is coming to the Gentiles. So, a lot of the Jews didn't accept Jesus. And I think he's referring to their fall. Now, God has sent salvation to everyone through Jesus Christ, the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy, provoke the Jews to jealousy. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? For I speak to the Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my office. I think Paul's saying, God has sent me, Jesus has sent me to the Gentiles, and I'm proud of that fact. If by any means I may provoke to immolation of them which are of my flesh, I think he's talking to the Jews here, that he would provoke them. They would see him, Paul, and would be jealous and might save some of them. He's hoping that a bunch of these Jews will get saved. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? So he's talking about the Jews being broken off. But if they come back, if they accept Jesus Christ as their Savior, they'll be brought back to life from the dead. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. I think he starts talking about olive trees here. And I think he talks about two, a wild olive and this other cultivated true olive, which to me, the true olive is in Jesus Christ by faith. And if you're in that olive tree, you're going to bear good fruit. I'll read again, verse 16. For if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy. So if the fruit's holy, the whole tree is holy. And if the root be holy, so are the branches. So if you're in that good olive tree, the root, I'm thinking, is Jesus Christ. He's the root. And so are all the branches that are connected into Jesus. And if some of the branches be broken off, I think it's talking about the Jews here, and thou being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the root of the fatness of the olive tree. And I think he's talking about the Jews that were, those branches that were broken off. They can be regrafted into this good olive tree. And what supports them is Jesus. Jesus is the root and the fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the branches. Don't be looking down on the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the root, but the root thee. And I think, again, he's talking about don't be boasting, because what supports you is the root of the tree that sends life up to all the branches, and the root is Jesus. That will say then, the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Talking about some of the branches were broken off that the Gentiles could be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and thou standest by faith. I think Paul's talking about the Jews that did not believe in Jesus Christ were broken off. And he's saying, you guys, the Gentiles, you're in this good olive tree by faith in Jesus Christ. Be not high-minded, but fear. And don't get all puffed up because you're in the good olive tree. For if God spared not the natural branches, I think he's talking about the Jews, that they were broken out, take heed, lest he also spare not thee. And I think he's talking to Gentiles there. You need to be careful. You don't want to be broken off either. Behold, therefore, the goodness and severity of God on them which fell severity, but towards thee goodness. I think he's talking about the Gentiles there. You know, God smiled on you and had mercy on you and had goodness, that you were able to be, you know, grafted into the good olive tree. If thou continue in thy goodness, otherwise thou also shall be cut off. And they also, if they abide not still in unbelief, I think he's talking about the Jews here. You know, if they'll turn around and not put away their unbelief, but start believing in Jesus Christ, shall be grafted in, for God is able to graft them in again. For if thou were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, if you were from that old olive tree, you could be grafted into the good olive tree. How much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? Wow. Y'all read that yourself, meditate on it, and see what God shows you. That was some deep stuff. God bless y'all. Walk with God one day at a time.